our TESO speaker series. For those who do not know me, my name is Anthony Lai. I'm the Student Affairs Program Manager here at TESO. Today, we are in for a special treat for all of you event pros out there. We have Natalie Helmick joining with me today from AllSeated. So what is AllSeated? Well, AllSeated is one of the leading event planning resource software for all of you event professionals that are watching with us. We're going to take an in-depth look at AllSeated's tools and coach you on how to easily build a precise floor plan, space and align tables, adjust seating arrangements, work with different custom objects provided by AllSeated. We're going to look at different floor plan templates, build out timelines, everything you need to become a successful event planner. They also have some amazing new features for this year, and I know Natalie is very excited to announce that. So stay with us throughout this webinar. Before we begin, we have a few instructions. All of you in the audience are currently muted. If you do have a question, please submit it on our chat feature or type it in on the Q&A feature. We did reserve the last 10 minutes of this webinar to get your questions answered. The webinar is being recorded, so if you do hop in and hop out, no worries. They'll be uploaded to our YouTube channel within the next few days. Now, let's begin. Hi, Natalie.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to showing you AllSeated, everyone out there. As Anthony said, my name's Natalie. I've been working with AllSeated for about 2 years now. My role within the company is called Customer Success Manager. And that role is really exciting because I can engage with all of our clients and potential clients, like hopefully you out in the audience, to showcase you AllSeated and to make sure you feel comfortable in the platform. So before I dive into the product itself, I want to give you some background knowledge. AllSeated launched in the 2014, 15, 16 timeframe. And the idea behind AllSeated was to provide event professionals a cloud-based software where you have a to-scale 2D diagram that you can build out the layouts that you're needing for that event, and everything saves automatically. How that idea came about was one of our co-founders, Sandy. She was an event planner in Europe. And her method of diagramming was paper and pencil. So there was no method or technique on the scaling aspect. And that kind of gave her some issues down the line because she found herself in a scenario where she showed up to a castle for one of her events and her objects wouldn't even fit through the door. She had to rescale everything. Of course, she pulled it off and got the event going, but that was kind of the last straw, as you would say. And she knew that there had to have been or needed to be a diagramming platform out there that did the whole scaling aspect for you so that when you got to the event to set up for the event, everything would fit naturally and perfectly how you planned it. So what I'm going to do for you today is show you how you can sign up for your own AllSeated account. Everyone is guaranteed a free account where you can create up to 10 events per year. And I'll show you how you can create events inside of the platform. I'll also show you how you can see your events come to life in a 3D format. And if we have time at the end, I'll talk a little bit about our new product we launched in 2020 called Expo. And it's a hybrid or virtual platform where you can actually run events. And it also intertwines with a newish topic, a big hubbub called the metaverse. If you haven't heard about it, I definitely suggest you look into it. It's this new trend going on. And our product line called Expo is already a working metaverse. So I'll talk a little bit about that towards the end. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And I like to start off at the AllSeated website, www.allseated.com. Two reasons why I like to start here. First, this is where you will sign up and sign in to your AllSeated account. And second is I like to showcase some available resources for you if you want to look more into AllSeated, or if you need some help when you start diagramming your event inside the platform. So first, under products, you'll see all three of our product lines: Vision, Ops, and Expo. Vision is our 3D rendering product. Ops is our 2D rendering product. And Expo is that virtual and hybrid platform, which I talked about, the metaverse. Under resources, you have some available tabs. Two highlights here. First is tutorials. These are all pre-recorded, specific feature oriented. So if you do have any questions about a certain task or certain ability inside the platform, definitely suggest checking out the tutorials tab. And under resources, virtual sessions. These are ongoing webinar classes that we hold. You can register for them. I also want to point out that we do have an AllSeated for beginners. So if you want a more kind of in-depth look into some of the features I'll be showing you today, definitely suggest checking that out. But we also do have some webinars inside of our Expo home, where you can actually go inside of the Expo product line and inside the metaverse yourself. So definitely check out our resources, virtual sessions to find out the webinar classes. All right, so let's start to build your AllSeated account. So through our website, in the top right-hand corner, you'll first click Get Started. This will populate a kind of present you 5 interfaces here. These 5 interfaces are designed to give our users a customization to maximize the benefits inside of AllSeated. So what you'll do is you'll sign up for the interface that closely aligns to what you are. For your purpose, I definitely suggest to sign up as a planner first with your student email. That's because if you sign up as a planner, it will give you the most flexibility with accessing venues, diagrams, and different aspects like that. But of course, if later on down the line, if you want to use AllSeated when you are inside of the event professional world, definitely sign up for the interface that closely aligns to who you are. When you click your interface, you will first enter in your email address. It can be any email address. It can be your student email address, a personal email address. For today's demo, I'm just going to use an example one. Please note that only one email can be linked to one account. So if you already have an AllSeated account with an email signed up, please go ahead and bypass this get started kind of phase and go right into signing in with the email that you've already created an account for. But when you enter in a new email address to create an account, you'll next enter in a name. It can be any name. Address, again, any address here. And a phone number, any phone number here as well. Then you'll retype in your first and last name, make sure your email address is correct, and you'll create a password. You'll use the email address and password each time that you would like to log into your AllSeated account. So when you do want to log into your created AllSeated account, you'll go back through the AllSeated website. And in the top right-hand corner, instead of clicking Get Started, you'll go ahead and click Sign In. Then you'll be presented with a login or sign in page where you use your email address and create a password. If you ever forget your password, we do have a forgot password here. I'll resend that password to you. So go ahead and click sign in. And every time you log into your AllSeated account, this is the first screen that populates. I call this the event management page because all of your events are going to be living primarily in these 3 tabs. Before I talk a little bit about this page, I'm actually going to come up here to the account tab. Under the account tab, this is all of the back end workings of your AllSeated account. It first populates you to your profile, which I want to highlight in particular for this account tab. The profile is forward facing, so there is a huge networking ability within the AllSeated platform. Everyone who has an AllSeated account will be able to select and view someone else's profile to get more information about that person or that company. So if you want to list out any of the information you have about yourself or your company, you can click the pencil by each of these fields to fill in that information. You can even upload media and upload photo albums to really document and showcase yourself. Now, the one piece of information we do highly suggest you import is your logo. I have my headshot here. That's because you will have the opportunity to import your logo on any document that you print or PDF. Again, you just click the pencil, choose file or drag and drop your logo, and then click save, and you're good to go. Wherever you are at within the AllSeated platform, if you want to go back to the event management page, all you have to do is select the events tab here in the top right-hand corner, and it brings you back to this page. Now, inside of this event management dashboard, this first events tab is going to hold all of your to date or in the future events. Events are first organized inside the platform by the date. And then if you have events on the same day, the events will then be organized by the title of the event itself. So everything is organized for you nice and neat. You can see that event when it's happening, and you get other information about that event living underneath the title. You have an expected number of guest count. We also have a feature inside the platform for you to import your guest list. So it keeps track of that number for you. Next, this contact name tells you who from your team created this event. So we have internal collaboration set up within the platform. What I mean by that is a company, an umbrella company, let's for this demo say ABC Event Venue. If ABC Venue has multiple event planners working within that venue, all of the event planners can have their own AllSeated account, but also be connected with the ABC venue so that all of the event planners can create their own events and access each other's event. And that ensures there is no double booking at ABC venue. So the contact name tells me who created this initial event from my team. If I want to shuffle everyone else's events out of the way and only focus on the events I have created, I just select this show only my events button. If I deselect it, all of the events will populate. If you are creating a AllSeated account first or initially, your name will only be the one that's populating, and that's okay. You see here on my profile, I'm the only one working underneath my profile, so that's why my name is only here. So no worries if you're the only one, you still can work inside the platform, no problem. The other way to collaborate within inside the platform is externally, meaning anyone who is not a part of your team. Nobody or somebody else not a part of that ABC venue. In that scenario, you can add or invite in that person to be a collaborator under your event. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when we start to create an event. Once an event date has passed, the event card will simply roll over to the past events tab, where you can shuffle through the year and click go, and the events will populate in accordance to that year. Now you'll notice that all of the events are listed in the same manner as a current event. So if you are needing to go into a past event to diagram or save anything, you definitely can do so, and all of the features and functions will be available for you. I also want to point out that if you are working on an event and then you go into the events tab and it's not there, double check your past events tab and make sure you do shuffle through the year and click go, and that event should populate for you. This very last tab, I won't stay too much on this tab, but this tab is for when a third-party AllSeated user invites you in to be the collaborator on their event. So a use case here is, let's say at my ABC venue, I just booked a wedding and my bride has a AllSeated account, and they go on to their account and create an event themselves and invite me in to be the venue for their event. I will receive that invite notification here on this third tab, where then I can either accept or decline that invite. If I accept the invite, I can set who from my team will be the event manager for this event. And then the event card will just roll over to be acting as one of my current events. If I decline, it will delete from AllSeated, so you do have the final say if you are associated with that event. Now that I have talked a little bit about the first page that you come to when you log into your event and how you can find your created events, let's start to actually create an event ourselves. To create an event, you just simply click the New Event Plus button. Inside of this pop-up box, these first 3 fields you do have to fill. Your event type is a category that closely aligns to the event you're working on. The event type doesn't limit you to only having a certain diagram or layout within the floor plan. So if you have a wedding for your event type, and let's say it's an unusual wedding setup, you still can diagram out whatever setup you need for that event. No worries there. Then you'll just give an event name and a date. Now, your expected number of guests, you can leave 0. You also can populate a number. The reason why you can leave this 0 is because this expected number of guest count is just an informational field to help you keep track of your guest count. It does not limit you to only having that amount of tables or chairs inside of your diagram, so don't worry in that aspect. If you do choose to import a guest list and you import a guest list that is over your expected number of guest count, the difference you'll see is a hazard triangle here, just telling you, hey, your numbers don't align. If you need to go in and change anything, you can, but again, does not limit you in any way when it comes to diagramming. When you create an event or you select into an already created event, it will always populate you to the event details page for that particular event. So now you see all that information we've just entered in is living in this top band. So if we do need to make any updates, we can scroll over here to the pencil in the top right-hand corner and make those updates. You'll also notice that your information automatically populates into the interface that you have signed up to be. Since I am a planner, you see my information here. This is also where I will be able to add in those external collaborators to work alongside with me for this event. So if I want to add in a host, meaning anyone who is hosting this one event, a venue, a caterer, or any other vendor that I feel needs to be involved in the planning process, I can do so. So I just select that field, fill out the information. And since I am the creator of this event, I'm going to select next to permissions. This allows me to set the ability for what this person can or cannot do inside of this platform, or excuse me, inside of this event. So I do have that say. If I want them to do things, I turn them on, and if I don't, I turn them off. Now, when I select invite, this person will receive an email with a link that allows them to either sign in to their existing AllSeated account, or it will prompt them to create an AllSeated account themselves. So they do have to have an AllSeated account in order to be added in as an external collaborator. That's because they go through the same type of diagramming process we have on our side. But again, it is a free account for them, just like you are able to sign up for a free account. So if they don't have one, you can ensure them it is a free account for them. If you want to add in a planner or a caterer or any other vendor, you may see it as a search bar first. So you just search for the vendor. If they are already registered with AllSeated, they do populate where you can select them or you can manually invite them in. And again, you'll be able to set their permissions and click invite, and then they get that invite sent. Now, if you are signed up as anyone other than the venue, so host, planner, caterer, or vendor, the most important aspect about the event details page is adding in your venue. That's because if we are to go to seating without adding in a venue and click new floor plan, the only option we have is custom. Great option though, you can add in your own dimensions, but it doesn't give you the type of information about doors or if there's columns in the floor plan or whatnot. It just gives you a blank square or rectangle to work inside. Again, great option if that's the only way you have your diagrams. But there is a public database out there within AllSeated that houses venue diagrams that you can utilize, even if you're not a part of the venue. To access that database, you just click Add Venue, and then you can search for any venue out there. For today's example, I'm going to use the Boston Park Plaza. So you see I type it in, and then if we have it, it shows up in my search field. If you type in a venue and we don't have it, you can upload your venue diagram. What we need is a diagram, an accurate layout of that space, and at least 2 accurate measurements. And then what we do is take those measurements and scale the diagram so that everything that you place into that diagram is going to fit in real life. So again, I'm just going to use the Boston Park Plaza. Now, if you are within AllSeated and kind of just playing around, creating events, creating mock events, and you access a venue, add them in, and you get this pop-up page first, it's very important that you select not now, maybe later. That's because if you do select OK and send notification email, it will actually email the venue and add them into this mock event. And so we just ask that you don't send it because we don't want to spam the venue themselves with invites for mock events that are actually happening at their location. So make sure you do select not now, maybe later. But when you add in a venue, you'll see their information is now inside of the venue interface. So now when we come to seating and new floor plan, we still have that custom option, but we also have a venue option. Now under venue, this is where all of the venue diagrams are living. You'll notice that this venue has some diagrams with this Vision Plus label next to the diagrams, and some diagrams don't. The Vision Plus label indicates that this diagram has a 3D realistic digital twin associated with it. So that's in our Vision product line. The diagrams that do not have the label are still going to give you a 2D diagram, but the 3D rendering is a grayscaled representation of that diagram. So if you want to use a diagram that has that virtual realistic 3D rendering to it, you're more than welcome to utilize one of these Vision Plus diagrams here. Go ahead and access one. When you click onto a diagram, it gives you a preview of that space. You may also notice that here on the left-hand side, when you click on that diagram, it breaks down. We call this a smart floor plan breakdown. This gives you the option to deselect certain areas that you may not be using for this particular event. So if I just deselect the areas, you see here on my preview, it disappears. Go ahead and bring this back. Now you'll give your floor plan a name and click done. And if you have deselected some areas, you'll see on the actual diagram, it has disappeared from the floor plan. So now you're only focusing on the areas that you have selected. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, AllSeated is cloud-based. So as you work, everything saves behind you. So there is no save bar or save button inside the platform. Once you have created your floor plan, you'll notice the floor plan on the floor plan sub-tab. And if you are needing multiple floor plans for this event, maybe you're having a dinner and a cocktail hour, you can just click the new floor plan plus button and go back in and have as many diagrams as you're needing for this one event. So everything saves together so that you're not having multiple diagrams floating around everywhere. Once you're ready to start placing objects onto your floor plan, you'll come to the Objects sub-tab. Since I have been working inside of AllSeated for some time, it first brings me to View Favorites, but I'm going to drop this down to View Library. This is AllSeated's large list of library options we have in our platform. You can come to Category and Type to refine your search. You also can type descriptor words in the search bar, so any dimensions or words, and it will populate the objects with that description associated with it. Now, inside of AllSeated, we do not build out your particular inventory list. However, we do allow you to set objects as your favorite to build out a custom list so that you're not navigating this large library of about 500 objects every time. So how to build out your favorites list is you just hover your mouse over the object you want to have favorited, and you'll click the star next to that object. You see here on the left-hand side, some of my objects have that orange star. That's because I've clicked the star to make it a favorite. Now under View Favorites, you have all of your objects that you have selected that star, where you can work off of your much smaller customizable list. To place objects onto your floor plan, there are two different types of ways. You first can select onto your object icon, then move your mouse back onto your diagram and click back down where you would like that object to be placed. If you try to click and drag, it does not populate, so make sure you do click on the object icon, then click back down onto your diagram. The second way that you can populate objects onto your diagram is through our auto layout feature. How to access this is you'll hover your mouse over that object. In the bottom right-hand corner, a new icon populates. You'll select this icon. Inside of this pop-up box, you'll be able to set a shape and adjust your spacing. Then all you have to do is click and drag, and your objects will populate into the square that you have dragged out. Now, once you have dragged out your square, you can still come back in and adjust anything within the pop-up box that is needed. You do have an item count here at the bottom. You'll click OK. And now you have all of those objects living onto your diagram. If you do need to move an object individually, you just select that object and then drag it into its position. Or if you want to move multiple objects at a time, like as a grouping, all you have to do is click and highlight over those object pieces you want to move as a group, and now they're all selected for you to move. If you want to stop having them as a group, you just click anywhere else on your diagram, and now you can go back in and move each one individually. Now, when you select onto an object, it pulls a properties box for that particular object. So these are all manipulations you can do for this particular object. For this table with chairs, I can give a 2D color. Orientation allows me to adjust where the seats are facing. I can rotate here degree-wise. I can also rotate manually on the object itself. I can also clone, so that I can clone out as many of this particular object as I need. I can also, again, click and highlight over those multiple objects and change all of the properties to all of the objects I have selected at once. And I have a couple of additional tools here at the bottom, such as aligning in a straight line, both horizontally and vertically. I'll select just this row so you can see now that table has snapped into a straight line. I can space to make sure that I have an even spacing throughout my entire table. And I can also group these objects together to be a permanent grouping throughout my entire design process. For your tables with chairs, you also have a chairs subtab where you can make manipulations to your chair count. You first can individually select what chair you want to have removed. You can change the composition, or you can add or subtract chairs with these plus or minuses. Now, I want to draw your attention that even though we're making the chair count manipulation inside of our properties box, it hasn't yet applied to the table on our diagram. That will not occur until you select Apply Changes. Moving back to the Object subtab, the very last feature I want to highlight inside of the Properties box is this Open Designer tool. When you select Open Designer, it populates a diagram of your table, and you have a purple chair highlighted here. We call this the master chair, and you'll see why. The Open Designer tool allows you to diagram out place setting or table settings so that you can really get a full visualization of what this event is going to look like. So here on the left-hand side, under the Place Setting subtab, you can maneuver through the other menu options, and then you'll click on the object and place it in front of the master chair, the purple highlighted chair. And you'll see the system does the work for you, rotates and populates that object piece to be placed around to your other chairs. So it saves you a lot of time, a lot of headache, not having to worry, is this fork rotated correctly for this chair, etc. Under table setting, you can apply centerpieces. And what's really awesome about the Open Designer tool is A, not only getting a visualization of what it looks like, but B, it also keeps track of the object pieces that you need to have pulled for this event based on the tables and chairs that you have on your diagram. So once you have diagrammed out your place setting and table setting, under General, you can see all of your settings that you have created, and you just apply that setting to all of your tables with chairs. Now, a report will run with the accurate account of how many forks you need, how many plates you need, etc. You also can make notes about any of the objects you have placed onto your diagram. You can print in the 2D format, and under 3D, you can get a visualization of what the 3D diagram looks like. I can move myself around with the arrows here on my keyboard or on my screen in the bottom right to really get a full 360 view of this setup. Over here on the left-hand side, I can also make linen color adjustments as needed. Once I have a linen color I'm going to be using, here at the top I have 3 buttons. This first button I'll highlight, which will apply this linen color to all tables with chairs. So again, saves you a lot of time not having to worry about going into each table to build out your tabletop. Now you may have picked up that when I was talking about this Open Designer tool, I emphasized tables with chairs. That's because we have the exact same Open Designer tool for tables without chairs. However, you'll notice that these tables do work differently. The first aspect is by the type of objects you can place onto this table. Under your menu option, you have buffet objects you can place down. I'll place a couple down so you can see what they look like. You still have that same type of notes and print option to view in 2D, and you can still view in 3D. You can still set linen colors, and you still have the option to apply this linen color. However, now it will only apply to tables without chairs. So your tables with chairs will still have that black linen color we applied one step before this. Under the View drop-down menu, a couple of additional menu options I want to highlight. First is chairs. It first will bring you to category My Banquet Chairs or Venue Banquet Chairs. If you drop this category menu down to All Chairs, you will see all of the chairs AllSeated has uploaded inside of our platform. You can change the chair type to any of these chairs that you would like. To change the chair type, you just hover your mouse over that chair and click this Apply to Floor Plan button. You'll see a current label next to the chair that is populated onto your diagram. If you click Chair Preferences, you can also set favorites for both your banquet ceremony and you can make defaults. Now under Category, My Banquet Chairs or Venue Banquet Chairs, you will see your favorites list for your chairs. Also, from Court down to Lux Event Rentals, LLC, these are all furniture rental companies AllSeated has partnerships with, where you can place down any of their virtual furniture pieces completely complimentary. You also have a couple of additional toolbars, such as a text tool. You have a circle or square tool, which allows you to build out a stage or dance floor to the appropriate size and height that you're needing. You just click and drag where you want that square or circle to be. You can change the properties inside of the properties box. You can manually manipulate the size and this third box's height. So if you have a stage, you can give a height to it. You have a ruler tool, a line and arrow tool. You also have a ceremony chairs tool where you can set your presets for both shaping, how many rows and chairs per row there are going to be. You can set your chair type, adjust your distances, and then you'll click OK. You'll notice your chairs now hover onto your mouse where you can click to place them down. Inside the properties box, you can adjust how they're oriented. And you have a chair sub-tab, which brings back the exact same preset box you had originally. So if you need to make any adjustments, you can. You also have 3 additional tools, such as adjusting the arc level, adding or subtracting extra chairs per row, and you can take chairs away from the center to create that aisle. Last but not least, you have an air wall and pipe and drape tool. You can click and drag where you want this air wall and pipe and drape to be. You can determine if it's an air wall or pipe and drape, adjust the length, adjust the height, and give a color, and this color will render in 3D. Now here in our top toolbar, I won't cover all of the features, but just some highlights for you. An undo button. This eye with a circle around it is a running tally of your tables, chairs, and ceremony chairs. This next tool is very convenient if you have a standard setup that you want to have designed and saved so that you don't have to diagram it out every single time. All you do is diagram it out once, then you can come to your templates and save it. And now when you're inside of this floor plan, your templates tool shows you all of those templates that you have saved for this area. This one with a square around it is all of your displays that you can have set to your diagram. These displays will show if you print or PDF. You also have a table number display, and you can renumber all of your tables at once by clicking renumber. Then all you have to do is simply click your table to give it a number. You have a next number here on the left-hand side, so if you need to skip over any numbers, you can do so. You can also type in a number, and it'll start that counting from the number you've typed in. Now, all of this is viewable in 3D. You can view your diagram in 3D at any time by clicking the 3D button here in the top right-hand corner. Since we have been working inside of one of those vision label diagrams, it does give me that digital twin to see what my diagram looks like. When you are presented to your 3D rendering, it first brings you to a bird's eye view. This walking man will drop you down into first person, where now you can move around with the arrows on your keyboard or on your screen in the bottom right to really get a glimpse of what your floor plan looks like. You can also view table numbers if you would like. Now that is the diagramming aspect of AllSeated, but there are a couple of additional features that I want to highlight for you. First is a guest management feature. You can import your guest list either manually or here in the top right-hand corner, we do have an import Excel button. If you select that Excel button, it does present you with an informational box that gives you an Excel file. We highly suggest you use this Excel file. That's because we have uploaded or coded that Excel file to be imported incorrectly. So all of your information is not scattered everywhere. It's nice and neat and belongs where it needs to belong. This is what your information would look like once you have imported in your guest list. You can set parties if you would like. You can type in your parties. So if you want to have a specific party, you can type it in. You also can set linked events or categories for what your guest list is. So if you need to keep track of who all is attending the dinner, who all is attending cocktail hour, who gets a gift bag, you can create out all those linked events by clicking this pencil. And if you need to make any adjustments, you just click the drop-down menu. You can also add. You can type in your own list if you would like and give a short. Now you just click on the event that each guest belongs to assign them to that linked event. There are other information pieces you can keep track of here within these tabs. But once you have a guest list under your guest tab, you can move back to your seating tab and click on the floor plan that you would like to start seating your guest at. Under the guest subtab, you'll click Yes, Link Guests. Choose the event you would like to start linking to this floor plan. And then it presents you with all of the guests that have been assigned to that linked event for you to click on the square by each guest name and click on a table to assign them to a particular table. They'll get a green check mark by their name when they're assigned to a particular table. You can click on a guest name for that table to kind of pop out at you so that you can always keep track of who is sat where. This pie chart here in the top in the top toolbar allows you to have a color coding of your table occupancy. Once you have sat guest at a particular table, you then can click on that table. Inside the properties box, you have a guest subtab, and it will tell you who all has been placed at this table. Now, if you want to go a step further and assign them to a particular chair, all you have to do is click this chair button here, then do the same type of maneuver, clicking on the guest name, the square, and clicking on the chair that they belong to. Now you'll notice that every guest is on their own individual line. So if, let's say, Carl Dirks is bringing a guest, Carl Dirks and Carl Dirks' guest needs to be on their own individual line if you are to add them to a particular chair. If you have both guests on the same line, you actually will get a hazard triangle saying, hey, can't do that because there's two guests and you're only seating them at one chair. So make sure you do have each guest on their own individual line. Now under reports, there are two different types of reports you can run. First is a guest report. You can select what linked event you want to run, the information you want to see, how everything is displayed and generate. You can print, PDF, or Excel this report. And the second report type is floor plans, which pulls information from your seating tab. You can select what floor plan you want to see, the information you want to have shown and generate. And then it provides you a BEO breakdown of your counts, objects, dimensions, everything you have placed onto your floor plan. There's our open designer object pieces, our linens. If we continue to scroll down, it will give us a report on table occupancy and who all is placed at what table and what chair. You can print or PDF this report as well. Back under the Details subtab, you'll also see a timeline. When you select your timeline, you can add. You'll give your timeline a name. So if it's day of. And then within your timeline here, you can have multiple timelines if you need. So if there's a day after for breakdown, you can select that. You'll notice that there are task and section options. The difference between the two is tasks are those tasks or moments inside of your timeline. So if you have, let's say, your bride or groom or whoever is arriving to the venue and you want to note that, you just type in the amount of time, your who. If you have added in external collaborators, you can search for them under the folder, but you can also type them in if you would like. Arriving to venue, you just fill out the information, any comments, and create the task. Now you see you're building out your timeline for that particular timeline. So if it's day of, you select the task and for the day of, day after, whatnot. Now your sections are kind of the organizer or important pieces that are part of your timeline. So if at 2, everyone's arriving to the venue and you want to make sure that's emphasized, you can create out a section. So now your section highlights what is happening and your task below it are more detailed time frames. And you can print, or excuse me, you can PDF your timelines as needed. So that is really everything inside of the platform. I know that's a lot. Just to highlight again, you have your 2D diagramming, which we refer to ops. Your 3D rendering, we refer to as vision. And now I want to briefly highlight our third product line, which is Expo, which is our virtual and hybrid event platform. So I'm going to come to our YouTube channel. You can find us on YouTube at AllSeated. That's because we have some great videos out there of events that we have already done in Expo. So let me highlight here a couple. Do a really cool one. I like doing the Kennedy Center one. So inside of Expo, it is a completely branded experience. So for this Expo event, the Kennedy Center Honors had their guests come to Expo. So we made sure that the environment is in our 3D rendering for vision. And we went to the Kennedy Center with a camera called Matterport and took 3D 360 photos of the Kennedy Center to build out their exact space. So then what we did was we worked with the Kennedy Center team to build out media, to build out experiences, and attendees navigate throughout this Expo platform via these little avatars here to experience their event. Attendees can network with each other, so avatars can talk to other avatars. They can also go up to different booths. If it's a trade show, they can have trade show booths. They can also sit through a keynote speaker, through a stage like you're seeing now. So there's different types of abilities or different aspects of Expo that attendees can really experience and get a real life but virtual experience of an event. Now, some of you may have heard of Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook transforming into Meta. Let me click on this one then. The idea behind a metaverse is giving real life experiences, but in the virtual world. And as you can see, Expo is a metaverse. So this is what Mark Zuckerberg is trying to get or build out, but you can already attend it today. So that leaves me to the Q&A. Anthony, if you want, do we have any questions out there?
Yes, thanks, Natalie. So we do have about 10 minutes left of this webinar for Q&A. So please type in your questions on the chat feature. Looks like we got our first one. This comes from Anonymous. How many events can I create per free account?
Great question. So within your free account, you can create up to 10 events per year. After that, if you would like to be a part of our subscription base, that's how we do our pricing in AllSeated. There is different levels. So if your company or you as a event planner or whatever the scenario may be, creates 30 events per year, we have a subscription level for that. If you create 50 events, so tiers go up, and that's how the subscriptions work. But with your free account, you get 10.
Wonderful. All right, there's some really cool features. I love. All right, from Scott, I can build out a metaverse event with the free version.
So not with the free version. The metaverse event, our Expo platform is a upgraded platform. So the Expo is designed for companies who, or organizations or people who want to have out that virtual event. So these are real life events or real events happening. So not within the free version, but if you are looking to have a metaverse event, definitely we can get that priced out for you.
Great. And would you mind typing in your contact information, Natalie, in case anyone in our audience wants to reach out to you?
Absolutely. I'll type it into the chat here. So my email is super simple, just my name at allseated.com. And you can reach me there. We also have a support line, so support@allseated.com. And if you are inside of the platform itself, so let me get back to the platform here. And you have questions over here on the right-hand side, you do have a tutorials tab. If you select it, it brings you back to the library of different tutorials we have. And we also have a live chat feature, which is 24/7, all agent run. So you're guaranteed to talk to a real human. And they're really great with technical questions if you have anything like that.
I think you sent the email to the host and panelists, so we'll send it to the attendees. I just copied and pasted it from there. No worries.
Perfect.
From Maria, if I have a map of a venue that directly provided on the venue's website, can that be used to create a new venue that will be provided for others to use and enjoy?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you can't find the venue that you'll be using inside of our database, you will be able to upload your own. Let me delete Boston Park Plaza here. So when you search, if there's nothing that comes up, so just type a random name here, and let's say none of these are the venue that you'll be using. Here under upload, you can upload your own venue that you can use. So again, what you have, the map of the venue. So something that looks like this, you can hand draw it. You can take it from the website if you have the blueprints from the venue itself. And then all we'll need is measurements. So how long a wall is, how long, what's the scaling of that diagram, etc. And then you can upload that.
Another question from Scott. Can the software be used to create parking lots or parks that I do for outdoor events?
Yeah. So really you can upload anything. So if you have kind of a diagram of the parking lot, I'll give you an example. I can think off the top of my head. Or if you have like an outdoor area, like on Google Maps, if you want that particular area, we can use that as well. Let me think here. This should have one. Here's an example for you. So they wanted their parking lots because sometimes they have festivals out in their parking lot. So they just provided us a map of what their parking lot looks like. And then we were able to diagram that out as well so that they can use it.
All right, Maria has another question. How long does it take to process and uploaded information?
Typically takes our team about 24 to 72 hours, business hours, of course, to get everything uploaded. And they all communicate with you directly to you. Our floor plans team does.
Pete asks, how about setups for outdoor pool events?
So we also do that type of setups as well. Same thing. If the easiest kind of way to do that is if you go on Google Maps and take a screenshot of that area. I'm trying to think. I think that's not really a direct pool, but I'll show you this one here. This is actually one of my favorite venues that we have for Vision. I'll show you the Vision floor plan, but we have done an outdoor area like this. And there's actually a pool over here. But if you go on Google Maps and get this area, and again, just give us those measurements. Measurements are key for us because, like I mentioned, our co-founder, Sandy, really wanted to have a 2-scale diagram. So the more measurements you can provide us, the better. And with Google Maps, you actually can have a ruler and it gives us the scale, which is a 2-for-1 for us. I want to show you this vision because I think it's just awesome how we were able to do this one. Here we go. So this is a real life venue in Key West, Florida. This is their lawn area. They didn't want the pool, so we weren't able to get the pool, but we do have it kind of in the background that you can see it. But yeah, this is really awesome how we were able to do this, but definitely possible. I'll show you one more outdoor space because I think it's awesome. I geek out over this stuff, so, but keep asking your questions. I'll answer them as I'm looking this stuff up for you. All of this you can use as well. You can go into your AllSeated account and search for them. So if you want to take more time to view things, you definitely can do that. So check out a beach area that we did in Key West. And if you pay attention, the water is actually moving, which I think is awesome. We have our graphics team can do that. And I think I saw some other questions in the chat. Does it work for venues like old airport hangars and museums? Yes. So typically, so how we get this vision is we send a photographer with a Matterport camera, and they take 360 3D pictures. And we take those pictures and use them as references and build out this rendering, kind of like building out a video game. Now, for areas that change very often, typically what we do is we have the area when we scan it be completely clear. So anything that is not permanent, anything that can change, we get it out of there. That's because we want to give the client a ground base so that they have the flexibility of changing it. Now, if there are different items that can be changed, we build those out separately in what we call a collection. So for Casa Marina, they have tents that they can put out. So when they have a tent for an event or for a museum, if they have an exhibit that they're putting out, we build out that object piece that they can place down, and then it will render in 3D. So now you see the tent is there. Now, if I need to remove the tent, I can remove it, and I have that flexibility.
I think Scott has a question. Can the vision work for private clients? They do not want the diagrams for public use.
Yes. There are plenty of scenarios where a lot of clients don't want their diagrams, whether it's 2D, 3D, to be public. And we totally understand that. We do have the ability to hide those diagrams so that they are private. And we work with the client in that aspect, especially if it's, you know, a home or a governmental location. We definitely have things like that that we definitely do keep private.
All right, looks like we keep getting these questions. We are running about a few minutes over, so this will be it. Just two more questions for you, Natalie.
Okay, perfect.
I guess Mayara asked, can I use just to practice? It will count as a project. Well, Mayara, this is it is something that you would use as a practice, and of course you can apply it to your projects if you like. For Maria, are large objects available to be placed on the venue? For example, an old airplane or a car?
We do have cars already built into the platform under library. You can search for car. We have some available that you can place down. Now, airplanes are another beast. We haven't done any airplanes. We have done airplanes where they are stationary. I'll show you one. It's a museum, actually, the Henry Ford Museum. So you can definitely have stationary objects, but we haven't had any that we've had to diagram as a collection. So I'm going to say possibly. We may be able to do it.
All right. And then last question. I would love to go back and check these venues you showed us. Is there a way to send us a list?
The list would go on and on and on forever. We have about thousands of public venues in our database. So if you want to check out any of the venues that I showed you today, I definitely suggest going back through and rewatching and just making a note, because it would just be a large list if I give you all of the venues. But I can probably give you a list of the venues I showed you today if I can remember them. But yeah.
All right. Well, this concludes our webinar, how to plan the perfect event from AllSeated. Again, if you do miss a portion of this, we will upload the recording to our TISO channel, as well as subscribe to us on our Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Thank you again to our audience. Thank you to Natalie for this enlightening discussion on AllSeated. I'm sure everyone here in the audience is going to sign up right now and and start practicing and really, create some amazing experiences. All right, well, thank you. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you at our next speaker series.